Hi, a couple of weeks ago I made these little fold back cards that are here on my blog. I'm not sure whether you can see them, it's only a small picture, but basically they fold over and then the front section folds back. So this is a circle and this is a heart. And somebody asked me how I made them. I did them in Canvas and I said if anybody else wanted to know I'd do a video. So that's what I'm doing now to show you how I made them. So I'm going into Canvas, starting a new blank project. And for this particular tutorial, I'm going to do them the same size that I made my originals, and that was for a 5-inch square card, but you can create these any size you like. So I'm going to come to the basic shapes. I'm going to choose a square. I'm going to go to properties, make sure that the maintain aspect ratio is selected, and just hit one of these until it goes up to 5. And that gives me my 5-inch square. I'm going to right click and hit duplicate, and then while the duplicate's selected I'm going to untick maintain aspect ratio, and I want to take the width down to, sorry I'm on the wrong one, I want to take the width down to 2.5 inches. Which is obviously half the size of the base card. So this will be the back and this will be one side of the front. So the way I did, I'll show you with a heart first, but this can work with letters as well. So the way I did mine, I went to the heart, brought the heart in at its default size, which is just under 4 inches, which fits nicely on a 5-inch card. And then I selected both, went to edit, align, middle, so they should both be lined up centrally now, and then select the heart, and without moving it with your mouse, hold your shift key down on your keyboard, and I'm going to bring the heart over to the rectangle which is on the right, so I'm going to hit the right arrow on my keyboard, and because I'm holding down the shift key it jumps in bigger increments. If I let go of the shift key and hit the right arrow, now you'll see it barely moves, but holding the shift key down just helps it to jump bigger. And then when I get, what I'm trying to get is the middle of this heart going through this rectangle here. So if I zoom in a little bit, now I'm just going to use the right arrow on its own just to nudge the heart over. So it's central. You can see I've gone a little bit too far there, so that's central now. Then I'm going to select both and I'm going to hit weld. And that's one half of my card. Now obviously it needs to be symmetrical, so I'm going to select it, right click, hit duplicate. This is the duplicate, go to edit, flip, horizontal, and that's the other side of my card. Now I could have actually made this rectangle one complete size, so 10 by 5, and then welded these onto the end, but because we've got no align and distribute in Canvas and I want to put score lines in so it folds, I find it easier to do it this way because I can put the score lines in before I weld it all rather than having to zoom in and try and rely on my rulers here. So I'm going to select everything and go edit, align, bottom, so it all lines up on the bottom. Try and zoom in a bit more for you. I'm going to select the left hand side, and again using the arrows on my keyboard I'm going to bring it over to the right here until I get a slight overlap of this rectangle over this square. You can see when they kind of go together because the line goes a bit darker, but I want a little bit of a gap here, and I'm going to do the same with this one now. I'm not moving it with the mouse because we've aligned them all up along the bottom, so I know they all line up together. So with this one now, I'm going to, because I've got a big gap to fill in, I'm going to use the shift key and the left directional arrow to bring it over until it gets near then let go of the shift key and just use the little arrows, the little directional left arrow on its own until I get an overlap. And that might not be enough, so I'm going to click it one more time. And if you look at it closely, you'll see that it overlaps there and it overlaps about the same there. Now I'm going to have to zoom out to do the next bit so that I can see what I'm doing. Just going to drag it all in a little bit more. Right, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to draw a score line down here and down here. So it's in position before I weld these three sections together. So I'm going to come to the path icon. I'm going to click at the top here, left click, hold my shift key down and drag that down to the bottom and double click. And because I've held the shift key down, it's a straight line, and because I've double clicked, it's ended the path, but it selects it for me, which makes it easier. So while that line, that's only the line that's selected, I'm going to go to the properties box. I'm going to go to cut line and then change it to dash line. And then I'm going to go back to the path icon again and do exactly the same here. So I'm going to left click with my mouse first, then hold my shift key down, drag my line out. You can see it's here. Bring it just to the bottom and double click. And again, while that's selected, I'm going to go cut and dash and just close the properties box out of the way. And then I'm just going to click on the page anywhere to deselect. So at the moment now, I've got this rectangle with a heart, I've got a square, I've got this rectangle with a heart and two dash lines in the middle. I don't want to touch the dash lines. I only want the three main elements of the card. So I'm going to left click to select that one, hold my shift key down, left click on the square, and while I'm still holding my shift key down, left click on this section, and hopefully I've not picked up the dash lines. And while all those three are just selected, I'm going to come up to this icon here and hit weld. So now I've got my card, and if I just use the directional arrow, the down arrow, just to move this down a little bit, you can see I've got the dash lines underneath. So while this card is selected, I'm going to go to the properties box and I'm going to change it to a cut line only. And then I'm just going to use the directional arrows and scoot it back up until it all lines up again. Then I'm going to drag an imaginary box around everything, right click and group. Now I want to put the dash lines in here. So again, I'm going to go back to the path icon, left click just under this line here, hold the shift key down on my keyboard, double click, that selects it, go to here, go cut and select dash, then go back to the path icon and do the same here. Just left click. Once you've left clicked and you know that's in position, hold your shift key down, drag it down, double click, cut line, dashed. Again, select everything, right click and group. Okay, so from here now you can hold your shift key down and resize it, or if I undo, you can and rotate it, and if I just zoom out a little, you can rotate it so it fits within your 12-inch page that way. Then you just give it a name up here. I'll call it Fold Back Heart and then save it into my projects, and that's saved, and then I can download it if I want to. Now it works with letters, so let's start a new project, create a new project, and we'll do the same thing, only we'll do it with letters. So we'll go to basic shapes, I'll choose a square. I'll leave it at its default size. In fact, I'll make it 4 inches. Okay, this one. And we'll get a rectangle. Or you can just resize the square like I did in the first video. We'll untick aspect ratio. We'll make that 4 and we'll make that 2 because that's exactly half. Yeah, so this is 4 by 2 and this is 4 by 4. We'll go to the letters. And we'll type a letter A. And I'm just going to drag this out just for the sake of time on the video, but you can size it as you wish. And I'm going to make a duplicate of these just to save some time because I'm going to show you in a minute with a letter that's not symmetrical. So I'm selecting the rectangle and the A, edit, align, middle, that puts them centrally to each other. I'm going to select the letter, and by selecting the letter you get the bounding box circles around, which makes it easier for lining up rather than selecting the rectangle. So if you select the letter, I want this middle circle here to be down this line here. So again, I'm going to use the directional arrows on my keyboard and just move it over until that blue circle is in the middle of this line. I'm going to select both and hit weld. Then I'm going to right click and duplicate, bring the duplicate down here just so you can see it, edit, align, flip horizontally. Okay, so now you need to line these up and you need to make sure that your letters go in the right way. So if you look at this, this one needs to go over on the right and this one needs to go over on the left. And then when they join up, they'll match. So again, I'm going to select everything, edit, align, bottom. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to start with this one and I'm just going to move it so I've just got a tiny little overlap there. And then again with the directional arrows on this one, moving this one so I've got an overlap. And then while it's like that, I'm going to go to the Path tool, left click, hold my Shift key down, double click to drag out a line, go Cut, dash, go back to the path, left click, hold my Shift key down, drag out, double click, cut, dash, deselect, then click the left section, hold the Shift key down, click the rectangle, still holding my Shift key down, click the right section and weld. And if you've got all the parts correct, you should be left with your dash lines. Outside card, go to the properties and just say cut line only. And then I'm going to select everything, hopefully the card and the 2 dash lines, and right click and group. And then I just need to put my dash lines in here. So back to the path icon, left click, hold my Shift key down, double click, go to properties, cut, dash, path, left click, double click, cut line, dash, and then do the same on this side. So back to the path icon, left click here, double click, cut, dash, and path line again. Left click, double click, cut, and dash. Close that down. I'll just zoom out a little bit. Select everything, right click and group. And that gives you a card that when that folds over, the A will meet in the middle. Now, what if you want to do it with something that isn't symmetrical? So we'll go back. I'll keep that one there. We'll go back to our spares that we kept from before. I'll use the same alphabet. I'll double click, and this time I'll do a letter P. And again, just for the speed of the video, I'm just going to just drag this out, not size it proportionately. So that'll do. So I'm going to select both, edit, align, middle. So that puts the P directly in the middle. Again, I'm going to select the P, and using the directional arrows on my keyboard, I'm going to move this P left so this circle lines up with this line. It's got to go roughly through the middle to make it symmetrical. So that's that. Without moving it, I'm going to select both, right click and duplicate, and bring my duplicate underneath so you can see it. So when I weld this, I will have this half, but I need the other half. If I select this and weld, that gives me that half of the letter, but I need this half of the letter. So I'm going to select the P, and using the directional arrows on my keyboard, I'm going to move it over until this circle here is down this through the middle of this side of the rectangle now. Hopefully this will make sense when you do it yourself. And because I've not moved anything, it should still line up with this. Select both and hit weld. Okay, and then if I put those two together, you can see it makes the letter. Okay, so the O needs to go on, or the section of the kind of O on the letter needs to go there, and the section for the P needs to go there. We're going to do exactly the same. Edit, align, bottom. I'm just going to zoom in so I can see it a little bit better. I'm going to select this and move it back a little bit because I only want a tiny overlap here. And I'm going to select this and move it to the right because again I only want a tiny overlap. While that's all still in place, back to the path tool. Left click, hold the shift key down, double click, cut, dash, back to the path icon, do the other side, left click, hold the shift key down, double click, cut, dash. Select this half of the rectangle, hold my shift key down, select the square, hold my shift key down, select the rectangle and weld. Something's not right. I must have selected the dash lines. In fact, I'm going to click this and bring it to the front, click this and bring it to the front, and click this and bring it to the front, and see if that works. I think I must have selected the dash lines somewhere along the lines. Let me move it into the middle. Try again. Okay, well, so now I need to put the fold line in for the letter. So again, I'm going to zoom out so I can see. Come back to the path tool, left click, double click, cut, dash, and do the same on the circle. Select everything, right click and group and zoom out. And if I've done that right, they should fold up and meet in the middle, and you should have a letter A on this one and you should have a P on this one. So that's it, that's all there is to it. So I'm not so sure whether you would use it for letters or not, but I just wanted to show you that it could be done with letters other than shapes, and it could also be done with letters that are not symmetrical. So I hope you found that helpful. Please hit the like button. It lets YouTube know that you like these type of videos, and it lets them share them with other people. Please subscribe if you don't already do so, and feel free to share the video, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.